people from Fort Myers, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
Did that turn out to be true?
Yes, sir.
It said, look out for a white car.
Correct.
And if counsel were correct, and that belonged to Miss Garcia's mom, that would have been correct too.
Correct.
And the car was there that night.
Yes, sir.
And people were there, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Judge, I'm going to object that 6 says the car belongs to Mr. Taylor.
All right, so it says Mr. Taylor's white SUV. So it asks them to keep an eye out for that to see whether someone might be home. Is that the implication?
Correct.
And someone was home.
Correct.
And did they go in anyway?
Yep.
And what happened?
They ended up killing him.
It mentions the name Tim Brown in the tip. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
It mentioned the name Charles Wardlow, or Watlow is what it says in the tip.
Correct.
And what other name did it mention in the tip?
Mention the defendant's name, Eric Rivera.
Is that the man who told you he shot Sean Taylor?
Yes, it is.
And that tip came in the day after the homicide?
Yes, sir.
All right, Detective, you may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Take the next witness.
Detective Billy?
You'll step out of the court with your hands up straight in, see the microphone alongside the judge. You swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, sir, if you'll let me seat the witness stand, there's a microphone there, speak out so we can hear you, and when you're ready to do, you may proceed.
Just give him a chance to get set. Can you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
My name is Larry Bellew, B-E-L-Y-E-U.
Let me call your attention to November the 30th of 2007. How were you employed at that time?
I was a homicide investigator for the Miami-Dade Police Department.
And are you still with them?
No, I've since retired.
How long were you with the Miami-Dade Police Department?
Total of 29 years.
And about how much of that time did you spend in the homicide division?
Better than 17 years.
Did you become involved in the investigation into the homicide of Sean Taylor?
Yes, I did.
Did you have occasion to go to Fort Myers on November the 30th or around November the 30th of 2007?
Yes, I did.
Did you go to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes.
Why the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Well, they do have statewide jurisdiction, and there was an FDLE agent by the name of Andy Rose that myself and my partners had worked with before from FDLE, so we were just comfortable contacting them.
Are they a law enforcement agency that's able to do work in Lee County?
Yes.
Are they an agency that's able to do work anywhere in the state of Florida?
Yes, they are.
Was there a briefing with investigators there?
Yes, they were.
What was the purpose of the briefing?
The briefing was to bring everybody up to speed as far as what we knew to that point. There were 5 individuals that we wanted to speak with.
Did either you or Detective Segovia or both of you give instruction about what to do with the people that you were looking for if they were located?
Yes.
And what was that?
We told the investigators to attempt to find these 5 individuals, and that we wanted them to be brought to the FDLE office, the building there at the Fort Myers Airport. But we wanted them there voluntarily. Also wearing a blue button-down shirt.
Indicating for the record to the defendant. Do you remember around what time you saw him?
It was 11:41 in the morning.
Was he handcuffed?
No, it was not.
How are you dressed?
I was dressed in a shirt and tie.
Did you at some point introduce yourself to him?
Yes, I did.
Please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how that came to be.
He came through the west door of the FDLE complex with some other officers, or FDLE agents. He was not handcuffed. I introduced myself to him as a detective from Miami-Dade County, as well as Detective Segovia.
And did you go any place with him inside the building?
Yes, at that point, there was a smaller room off to the side
Question.
with a doorway and windows in front. It was like a conference room off from this bigger room.
Now, the bigger room, is that like the size of this courtroom?
Yes.
Is that called Suite 6 or something like that?
I'm not sure what it was called.
All right, so you went with him to a conference room.
That's correct.
Were there bars on the windows?
No, there was not.
Was he handcuffed inside the room?
No, it was not.
What was inside the room?
Inside the room, I guess would be like a 15 by 30 foot room. There was a table inside, a long table with several chairs. On that table was a landline telephone. There was windows in this particular room.
Were there blinds on the windows?
Yes, there were blinds on the windows that faced the main conference, the main room. Then there was a window that went to the west parking lot.
And the blinds to the conference room, were they open or closed? Do you recall at this point?
I believe they were open.
Once you got inside the conference room, did either you or Detective Segovia begin to speak with him?
Yes, we did.
And how did that discussion begin?
We introduced ourselves earlier, who we were, and we said we wanted to talk to him about an investigation that we were conducting out of Miami-Dade County. However, we would like to go over his constitutional rights with him, and we had form that we presented to him.
Who actually reviewed, who personally spoke with the defendant about their Miranda rights?
I did.
Let me show you a form that's been moved in evidence of State Exhibit number 96. Is this the form that you used?
Yes, it is.
Did you ask him a couple of background information type questions before you reviewed the form with him?
Yes, I did. I basically asked him his full name, his age, and his date of birth. I asked him if he was in school. He said he was a junior at Florida Christian High School. I asked him if he could read and write English. He said he could. I asked him if he had any drugs or alcohol on that particular day. He said he had not. I asked him if he had any sleep. He said he did not sleep the night before because he was watching television and on the telephone and playing games on the television.
And at that point, did you review the form with him?
Yes.
Right.
At that
Tell the ladies
point,
and gentlemen of the jury how you began that. Please tell them how you started your review with him.
I wanted to see if he could read and write or and understand English, so I asked him to read the first sentence. And he did so. The sentence reads, "Before you are asked any questions, you must understand the following rights." I asked him if he understood that. He said that he did. He actually said, "yeah," and I wrote the word "yeah" after the period in the sentence. At that point, I read each right to him, and he initialed each yes blank on the form.
And at the conclusion, did you ask him whether, knowing all these rights, are you now willing to answer my questions without having a lawyer present? Is that on the form?
Yes, the last sentence is to state a sign on my own free will without any threats or promises having been made to me. and it has his signature, the date of November 30th, 2007, at 11:56 a.m.
And did you sign it?
Yes, I did.
Detective Segovia signed it?
Yes, he did.
And after advising him of his constitutional rights, what discussion took place next? Did you call his parents?
We asked him at that point if he wanted to speak to his parents. He said he did not. If he wanted his family parents present, he said he did not.
Was he under arrest when he was there?
No, he was not.
Was he handcuffed?
No.
Was anything done to confirm one way or the other whether he was under arrest at that point in time?
We told him that he was not under arrest and he was free to leave at any time, but that we would like to ask him some questions.
When you asked him about his parents, how did he respond to that?
At one point, I believe he said that he didn't need his parents at all.
So does the discussion then begin with him?
Yes.
Who did most of the questioning, you or Detective Segovia?
Detective Segovia was the actual lead on the case, so he did most of the questioning.
Was the discussion at this point tape recorded?
No, it was not.
Why wasn't it tape recorded?
First of all, there's no requirement by law to have a confession or a statement tape recorded.
Objection. Didn't testify about the law, Judge. That's Luke's right.
Well, Jed, I'm sorry.
Overruled.
So can you repeat that, please?
There's no law in Florida requiring me to read or to put it on a tape recorder. Second of all, we were not in our house. I didn't know there was a tape recorder available at that particular time. It's not the way that we were trained in Miami-Dade homicide, not the way I was trained, people who trained me, or the way I trained other investigators.
So you work for the Miami-Dade Police Department Homicide Division?
Yes, I did.
Is it the practice for the Miami-Dade Police Department Homicide Division to record entire discussions when people first come in and are spoken
Objection.
with?
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
Is that their practice?
That's their practice.
To do that or not to do that?
To not record the pre-interview.
And how long had you been with them?
Over 17 years.
And is that what happened during that entire 17 years?
Objection.
I mean, was that generally the practice?
That's the practice that was performed by Miami-Dade homicide.
So if someone, whether they're a juvenile or an adult, had been brought, in this case, in for questioning in Miami-Dade County with regard to this case, would the pre-interview have been recorded?
No, it would not.
So whether the defendant was spoken with in Fort Myers or brought back here to be talked with or talked with there, well, you were one of the investigators on the case, right?
Yes.
Judge, can we get a ruling on that, Judge?
I haven't heard the rest of the question.
All right. Would you have recorded the beginning part of the interview?
No, I would not.
Overruled.
That wasn't the question, Judge.
You didn't answer the other one, so you didn't finish it. Go ahead, ask your next question.
All right, next question. So let's talk about the interview itself. Let me ask you one other question before we move on. After talking with someone, as you did with the defendant in this case, do you then, at some point in time, ask them whether they're willing to talk with you with a tape recording of some kind or a stenographer?
Yes, in Miami-Dade County, we usually always did it with a stenographer. In the latter part of my years, we moved to videotaping and stenographer.
So even though you're talking with them for a little while in the beginning, are you trying to get information from them?
Yes.
Do you know precisely what they're going to tell you?
No, I did not.
Do you know with certainty whether they're going to be involved or not?
No, not at all.
Do you know whether you're going to have to leave the room or not in between?
No, nor I don't know whether he may want to take a break. If he gives us information that needs to be verified, these are all factors that we use as far as tape recording the pre-interview.
All right, and if a tape recording were going on and you were interviewing the defendant and there was a break, either because you had to leave...
Speculation.
Stay asking a question.
Overruled.
and either because you had to leave, or he had to go to the bathroom, or something like that happened, would the recorder be taken off and on again? Be turned off and on again?
I imagine it would be.
Sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, just read last question and answer.
I mean, could there be some question about what happened when the recording wasn't ongoing if you had started it then?
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons why you see what someone has to say and then make decisions about,
Sustained.
is this one of the things that you consider?
Yes.
He's just going forward to disregarding the rules, Judge, asking the same question.
I'm just asking about the things that
Judge,
you
stated
consider.
that he just said is one of the things.
Next question.
All right, let's talk about the beginning of the interview again. Who was doing most of the questioning?
That'd be Detective Segovia.
And who was documenting or taking notes about what's being said or what's not being said during the questioning?
That would be Detective Segovia.
So generally, what was talked about with the defendant first?
As I recall, we'd asked him if he'd ever been to Miami before.
And what did he say? You recall?
At first, he said he'd been there fewer than 5 times. The last time was over a year ago.
And what is discussed with him next? Is Detective Segovia asking the vast majority of the questions?
Yes.
All right, so what does he talk about next?
He did say that he remembered that.
I've noticed that the detective is reading from something. I would ask that he testify from memory, and if he needs to refer to his notes,
Okay.
All right, this is an
We also
event.
don't know what he's reading from. He's reading from Detective Segovia's report. He's basically just testifying for him.
Objection to the speaking comment.
Sustained.